question that I used as my guideline for the project. And then the basic rundown of my project is why I chose it, the steps that it took to make the calendar, who I chose to help me, and what I learned from my project, and then the final product. And all the photos that are in this presentation were taken by me, except for ones of me. These are my mentors, which was Mr. Bigelow, Mrs. Hayden, and Mrs. Haggerty. Mr. Bigelow and Mrs. Hayden were very great helpers, both my English teachers, and they helped me come up with my topic, and they helped me figure out which research project, what I should research for my projects. They were great motivators, and they're really awesome, as I wrote. And then Ms. Haggerty was my digital photography teacher, and she taught me how to edit my pictures and gave me great sources to edit them on, and she helped me figure out where I should get my calendars ordered and which would be the cheapest, and she was just as awesome. And then in the student handbook, it says we strive to empower students as they become self-directed, respectful, responsible, and civic-minded individuals. And the way that my project had to do with that was that it was almost all self-directed. I had to go out on my own, take my own photos. I had to spend my own money to order the calendars. I had to do my research projects, and I had to come up with this presentation on my own. And then I also needed to be responsible and respectful to not only the nature around me, but the people that I had to work with. And this project was, it helped preserve nature and so why calendars, you may ask? When I was new to the school this year, and it was, hi, you have a big project at the end of the year to graduate, and I was like, okay. It took me about probably maybe a month or so to come up with my idea, but the way we came up with it was Mr. Bigelow gave me questions and stuff to figure out what my interests are and what I'm good at and whatever, and I figured since I already have a pretty decent eye for photography and I have a really good digital camera, that it would be a great, easy way to do it. And my camera is a Nikon DSLR 3400, and I have two extended lenses. This one is a 18 by 15 millimeter, and then this is a 70 by 300 millimeter camera, which they come out with some pretty good shots. So yeah. And then my initial goals for this project was to learn and explore more about photography and what goes into it, because it's not just about going out somewhere and taking a picture. There's definitely a lot more that goes into it, like angles, editing, lighting, whatever. Another goal that I needed to have was keeping a good time frame for everything, because kind of like he said, waiting till the last minute, it's not worth it. You don't want to do that. So making sure that I was going out on time and I was getting all my research papers on or passed in on time, it was definitely a very important thing to do. I wanted to learn more about my camera. I've never really messed around with it, so this was a great way to figure out different lightings and stuff that I could use to take better photos. And then I also wanted to sell multiple calendars. At the beginning, my idea was just about like 5 calendars maybe, which turned out to be a lot more. So the timeline that I followed was fall, winter, spring. In the fall, we had to pick up the topic. We had to figure out who my mentors were. I had to present my proposal for the project to a couple of teachers. And then I had to start taking pictures and also start my research reports. In the winter, I did more research and mentor reports, and I had to continue taking pictures. Each month I took probably around 10-15 photos. And then I also had to figure out where and when would be a good place and time to order the calendars. And then in spring, I was still taking photos, and I also had to finally pick out which photos would be in the final product, which was probably the hardest part of my project. And then I had to order, sell, and then this final presentation. So my first research report was on Ansel Adams. He is a photographer and he's an environmentalist, and he takes photos of the American West, and he's in Yosemite a lot. Most of his photos are black and white, and he's famous for his zone system, which is basically a complicated method of like perfect monochromatic print, which is in like dark rooms and stuff. He has some great quotes. Don't take it, you make it, which is pretty inspiring to me. He teaches a lot of things like position, where and when a good shot is, and he also said to take a photo of how it feels and not how it looks, which is another thing that I kind of put into my own pictures. And then my next research report was on Nichols, who is another famous photographer. He used to work for National Geographic, and he works with animals around the world. He would go really anywhere and everywhere, and he would find wild animals and different habitats to take photos in. He strives for authenticity, and he makes sure not to manipulate photos, not to manipulate animals to have that perfect shot, which is pretty important when it comes to trying to take photos of the wild. And then he shows a lot of passion and dedication, which his work and his art really motivates me, so I added another inspiration slide. This photo right here is one that I have taken, and this is by Nichols, which I thought they were pretty similar. I thought it was kind of cool, so I added it in. And then finally, thank you to DeLacy for the senior project day. It turned out to be a success. I just had everything set up on a little table in the cafeteria, and all the classes came in at once. And so this was awesome because it promoted all of my work to everyone in the school, and I got a bunch of feedback from everyone. I got a bunch of orders, and originally I only printed out one of those papers that kind of would get 15 orders, and then we had to go back and continue printing more to write down and keep track of the orders. I ended up selling 37 calendars in the school, and then about 8 calendars out of school, and my mom wanted to order more so we can continue selling. So it turned out to be a very good success, so props to me, I guess. The process, it really wasn't that bad of a process. I really just had to get the photos and get everything in on time. This photo is of my friend Cody. He helped me a lot. He took me to a lot of places, and he also has a great eye for things. He would tell me like, hey, there's a deer over there, there's a bunny over here, this would be a beautiful shot, the lighting's perfect. Like, a lot of help from him. And then for my editing, I edited on Adobe Photoshop, which Miss Haggerty has a premium account on her school computer, so I would just go to school and do things there. And then I needed to figure out where to order, and I figured out the cheapest place would be Costco's. They do have them at like Walgreens and Walmart, and then a couple other online places, but it's expensive. And it was online only. It was about like 7 to 10 business day shipping, so it took a little time for the calendars to come in, but at the end I got rid of them in 2 days. So I had to figure out how many orders were made, and then I also needed to get all the payments from everyone. Chasing around people, it really wasn't that bad. Most people just paid me on the spot. And then this was my final product. It ended up being $433, buying everything with shipping and stuff. And then what could have gone better was probably going out more to take more photos and going to more locations. I wanted to fix my editing style just because some of the photos could have been better. There's high contrast, low contrast, and then I wish that I was a little more organized when it came to all of my orders and trying to get the payments. I wish I had people pay right away instead of waiting. I wish I had higher quality, and it was really expensive, so maybe something cheaper for me, but I did end up making my money back. And then what went well, pictures came out. I gained a lot of knowledge on photography and on how to use my own camera. I sold a bunch of calendars, and I got great feedback from everyone. And then this is the final product. It's right over there. And then what's next for me, I plan to study at UMass Dartmouth. I'm going undeclared for now, but I would love to major in photography and study abroad and eventually travel the world for photography or something. And then that's basically it. Special thank you to Mr. Bigelow, Mrs. Hayden, and Mrs. Haggerty, my mentors, my parents for helping me out, and then my friends, and then anyone else who helped me out. And that's it.